We lock our homes to protect our wealth, yet we leave the gate of our mouth wide open. Sant Kabir thus asks us a terrifying question. Is your tongue a healing balm, or is it a sword? A sword creates a wound that medicine can cure, but a word spoken without thought, it fractures the soul forever. History stands witness. A single moment of laughter, a single careless sentence, "the blind man's son is blind," was enough to turn a palace into a battlefield. Draupadi spoke from a sleeping mind, and Duryodhana received it in a wounded heart. That one verbal scar expanded through the universe, birthing the destruction of the Mahabharata. Words do not die, they echo. But Kabir also offers a secret. He says, words are diamonds. True wealth is knowing when to speak. But be careful. In this age, even a predator can cry. Even a lion can use sweet words to trap the naive. Without the light of discernment, sweetness can be deadly. So, how do you tell the difference between a diamond and a trap? How do you stop your tongue from waging war? Today, we journey from the chaos of noise to the power of conscious silence. Watch until the end, because the next word you speak could change your destiny.
Kabir ji has a couplet. People speak whatever comes to their mouth without any thinking. Their harsh words hurt others like a sword tied to their tongue. The second couplet is, words are not ordinary wealth. Anyone who knows how to speak with care, he understands this. A diamond can be bought with money, but noble words cannot be priced. Good speech in this world is more precious than the gems. Let us start with the first couplet. In this world, people often speak whatever comes into their mouths. They do not think about any word. The listener gets very hurt by their words, and their soul is also wounded. In life, thought, word, and deed are the three initial stages. The rise of these three stages happens from the mind itself. As your mind is, so will be your thoughts, so will be your words, and so you will perform actions too. That is why a person speaks whatever comes into their mouth. The mind is affected by impressions, habits, and methods of living, and by your food and lifestyle. As you live, so are your habits, and so your impressions are formed. A human reveals their thoughts through words from their mouth by the influence of the mind. He never thinks about what effect his speaking is having on others because a person spends their life in a sleeping state. The person's mind itself often remains in a sleeping state, it is not aware. Now, what kind of words come out of a sleeping mind, what kind of thoughts come out, this is not in the human control. A person does not control the thoughts and words coming out of the mouth in any way. And when your mind itself is asleep, what can you expect from a sleeping mind? Discreet thoughts will never come out of a sleeping mind. Whatever comes to his tongue, the person speaks just that. If the mind does not take light from consciousness, is not in an aware state, is not under the command of consciousness, then it remains in a sleeping state. For this reason, whatever comes into his mind, he speaks it. The horse of his mind remains out of control. All thoughts, every kind of word, are influenced by the internal state of the mind and are revealed through the tongue without any thinking. The mind of the listener gets very hurt by these uncontrolled words and thoughts because the speaker does not speak with any understanding. He speaks everything in a sleeping state only. Any true thing, if said in naked words, hurts the other person's mind, it hurts their ego. Like if you do not call a sightless person surdas but call him blind, he will only get hurt. By calling a blind person blind and a one-eyed person one-eyed, both their mind and consciousness get sad. These are words coming from naked language. The speaker did not even think that his words could cause so much injury. You can understand this clearly through the story of Draupadi and Duryodhana. It comes in the story of Mahabharata that when the Pandavas established Indraprastha and built a beautiful palace, then Duryodhana was invited. Duryodhana came to see the Indraprastha palace of the Pandavas with his brothers. He was very impressed seeing this palace because it was extremely beautiful. He was so impressed that the water reservoir made beautiful by flowers in still water, there were so many flowers on its surface, he felt that this is not a water reservoir. It looked as beautiful as the floor to him. He became extremely fascinated seeing this and unknowingly mistook the water reservoir for a floor and suddenly fell into it because he was very fascinated by that beauty. Draupadi was standing in the balcony of her palace at that time. She was looking at her palace, was in a very simple and accessible state, was extremely happy, because this palace Indraprastha was very beautiful and there was no end to Draupadi happiness either. In such happiness, in a very delighted state, when she was standing in the balcony, she saw Duryodhana falling into the water. So out of happiness, she could not control her laughter, because Duryodhana had mistaken the water reservoir for a floor. Living in her beautiful palace, living in such a luxurious state, Draupadi had forgotten her awareness for a moment. Coming under the control of happiness, she had come into a sleeping state, she had lost her aware state. Often it happens like this. When a person is in extreme happiness or such an opportunity comes in his life that there is no place for his happiness, then in this happiness, the person loses their mental balance. And as soon as he loses his mental balance, the light of consciousness does not reach his mind level for a moment. The mind comes into a sleeping state. The mind comes into darkness. As soon as the mind comes into darkness, then it gets disturbed, then there remains no control over it. In this sudden incident with Draupadi also, when her state became like this, the light of consciousness did not fall on her mind level, she came into a sleeping state. Then suddenly it came out of her tongue, "The blind man's son is blind." This was not wrong at all. The meaning was clear that Duryodhana was the son of blind Dhritarashtra. But saying this, "The blind man's son is blind," these words hurt Duryodhana very much. So this was complete truth, but there was sarcasm in the words. There was naked truth in this. These words hurt Duryodhana's soul like a sword because there was sarcasm and sharpness in the words. Duryodhana's mind was so hurt that the injury of the mind went into the depth of his consciousness. He could not tolerate this. At that time, he swallowed this injury, but the injury was so deep and had reached the depth of his consciousness. To take revenge for this, he did the disrobing of Draupadi, and later the Mahabharata war also happened. When there is an injury from words, then it has no end. That is why Sant Kabir ji has said that if something is said without thinking in the mouth, then the soul gets hurt. Like a sword, it cuts the soul. A person should try only this, that he remains in an aware state so that his mind remains in his control. If the mind remains in control, then no action will be such that hurts another soul. You can understand this in another form also, that hatred and anger had accumulated in Draupadi's mind for many years because the Kauravas had given a lot of trouble to Draupadi and the Pandavas from time to time. Many times an attempt was also made to kill them, although it failed, but hatred and anger had accumulated in the minds of the Pandavas and Draupadi. This pain, hatred, and anger were in a suppressed state in Draupadi consciousness. When this was a moment of happiness at the time of the beauty of Indraprastha, then in a moment Draupadi came into a sleeping state and harsh words came out of her mouth. The blind man's son is blind. If she were not in a sleeping state, were in an aware state, then such words would not have come out of her mouth. Say anything, all this is a game of destiny. What is to happen is inevitable. In life, one should try only this, that hatred cannot be established in the mind. Forgiving the mistakes of others is proper. If mistakes are not forgiven, if it sits on the consciousness and heart level, then these become impressions in the subconscious mind. And in such a state, when the time comes, all this gets revealed. This is the result of thoughts that were established in the subconscious mind and appeared when the time came, and harsh words came out of her mouth. You can understand this in scientific language also. The injury of these words always hits the consciousness. Consciousness is the form of the universe, and the universe keeps expanding. It is always expanding in all four directions at the speed of light. The meaning of this is that the injury that reached the consciousness is also expanding, is becoming vast. A small injury that fell on consciousness, if it is expanding at the speed of light, then what effect it will have, it is very difficult to say. The injury on consciousness expands with the expansion of consciousness. It completely disrupts the consciousness. Its effect falls on every particle of consciousness, and the command of this effect gets established in consciousness. Consciousness itself influences the mind influences the body, influences speech, influences words. There was a big injury of Draupadi words on Duryodhana consciousness. And any person, When there is an injury on consciousness and consciousness expands like the universe, then the person tries to take revenge in some form or another. The opponent can get into war also and can attack in some other form also. Due to this injury only, Duryodhana got into the war also and tried to disrobe her also. This was the expansion of the injury of his consciousness. It becomes very difficult to forget the injury. For an ordinary person, if there is an injury of words, then it is long-lasting, and an attempt is made to take revenge for it. If there is a physical injury, it gets better with time, the person forgets it also after it gets better. But the injury of words that has happened through the tongue falls on consciousness, and an ordinary person cannot forget it for a lifetime until he takes revenge for it. But a spiritual person does not take any kind of injury on his consciousness. A spiritual person understands only this, that this is the offering of God, and God has given it to me only to improve me. He considers the injury of these words only a gust of wind. In life, when a person reaches spiritual heights, then forgiveness becomes a very big ornament for him. Now we come to the second couplet. Words are not equal to wealth. There is no value of words coming from the depth of a pure heart. These words are invaluable. These come from the depth of consciousness. These words are the voice of God because sweet words appear from a holy mouth only. In reality, this is the voice of God, and it comes out of human emptiness and silence only. Diamonds and expensive jewelry can be bought by giving money, but there is no value of these words coming out of silent states. Sant Kabir ji says, this is invaluable. The words that appear from sweetness, dear and soft speech, from emptiness, meaning silence, they touch not only the other person's heart but also the depth of his soul. The listener of this speech starts working according to the speaker's wish because these words influence him so much and settle in his consciousness. This is the subtlest importance of the speech of consciousness and silence. Speech coming from consciousness or speech coming from silence can control anyone. If this speech comes from the speaker heart, which is a tainted heart, then it is only a group of words, and it has no effect on the listener. A sensitive person senses very easily whether the speech has come from his consciousness or this is only a group of words. Until the source of speech is one with mind, word, and deed, and does not come from the depth of consciousness and silence, then it is not effective. The modern and today person expresses words from the mouth only. There is no purity in his heart and his deeds. He speaks sweetly from the upper surface only. He uses decorative language, but he thinks differently from the heart. His thoughts are also different. In Kali Yuga, such a person who is one with mind, word, and deed, is not different in any form, is impossible to find. Today person is something from the mind, something from the deed, and completely different from the word. That is why trusting anyone's words can put you in trouble only. If in reality any holy person is found in whose words there is truth, then it is very difficult to estimate the value of his words. They are invaluable words, they are words more expensive than diamonds. But only by luck, contact is established with such persons. You can understand this very well from an imaginary story. A gentle young man, when he was walking, he saw a lion tied with a rope. The lion was in a very compassionate condition, was in pain. A stream of tears was flowing from his eyes. He started pleading with a very sweet voice, filled with tears from pain, because he was in pain, that the young man should untie his rope. The young man felt his suffering. There was a very kind feeling in his heart. Coming under the control of kindness, by his nature, he untied the lion rope. But fear also came in his mind that the lion could hurt him. But his compassion conquered the fear because his heart was extremely soft. He made the lion free. The lion became very happy. He started thanking the young man. After untying the rope, the young man started walking on his path. Like he did a favor and forgot the favor. The lion also started walking behind the young man. In a little while, the lion started trying to hurt the young man. The young man said, "I have made you free, you should be indebted to me, and you are trying to hurt me." The lion was an animal after all. He said, "I do not understand the meaning of being indebted. You are my food, and by eating you only I will be satisfied." The young man remained calm, but his condition became very helpless that the work he had done, he did it with a selfless spirit because the lion was in pain, was speaking very heart-touching words. Because the young man understood the importance of words, that is why he had untied the lion. Now the young man came into a very unbearable direction. The young man said to the lion that we find some experienced wise person. Whatever he says, we will follow that. If he says my work is right, then also we will accept. If he says that you can eat me, then I will surrender myself to you. The lion agreed because the young man had helped the lion with a selfless feeling only. Our existence is very great. Doing selfless work is serving God. Because it was done with a selfless feeling, so the lion also agreed that whatever the experienced wise person says, I will accept it. After a little time, the lion and the young man met a Sufi saint. The Sufi saint was a dervish, wearing a long white robe. The whole matter was told to the dervish. He remained silent for a long time, stood in deep contemplation. He did not understand what should be done. But in a little while, God gave him light of wisdom and the dervish said, "Show me the real situation in which situation the lion was tied so that seeing that situation I can give an unbiased decision." Both agreed. The lion also easily agreed. The feeling of divinity came in him also. After all, There is God power in animals also, there is consciousness in them also, although not so developed. When the lion agreed, then the young man found the rope and tied the lion. He tied him just like he was in the first condition, in which condition he had released him. Now his condition became like before. When his condition became like before, then the dervish asked, "Now what do you both want?" The lion said, when the dervish looked at him with very deep eyes, then the lion said that I should be untied. And the dervish looked at the young man, then wisdom awakened in the young man. He understood that one should not trust those who speak in innocent and sweet tones from a selfish mind in Kali Yuga, in today time. Understanding the inner intention is very necessary. Nowadays sweet words can be spoken by acting also. When all this became clear in the young man consciousness, then he left the lion in that condition and went on his way. The dervish went on his way, and the lion remained in the same situation in which he was before. This couplet of Sant Kabir ji, identifying the diamond, is very necessary. Its value cannot be estimated by words. But a person should be wise about whose help should be done and whose not. If you help fools and animals, it is not their fault either, because you only are their food. As soon as they are made free, then according to their intellect, they can make you their food. So whatever good deed is done, it should be done by becoming wise only. One should not come under the deception of words. Although sweet words, proper speech, they are more precious than diamonds, but a person should have his own wisdom where to apply his power and how to spend his life. To do any work in the world, one should not come under the deception of words. But proper words only should be spoken. Words have a lot of value. One should not hurt anyone. But one should always act by becoming wise and discreet only. Thank you.